Hi, everyone. I think we'll just wait a few more minutes to see if others join, but I'm so glad to have you here. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to some of you. I'm just going to wait maybe 30 more seconds for a few more people to join. Thank you so much. Fantastic. Good morning, everyone. I'm Kelly Alexander. I'm the Deputy Director of the Water Team at CARE, and I'm based in the US. And today we're going to talk a little bit about what our program is in Ethiopia. We do a social analysis and action. Some of you may have heard of that. We'll go through it a little bit. But since it's Sunday, no one from the program could attend. And so I have some videos pre-recorded. And so I'll be sharing those and we'll be doing an exercise together as well. So thank you so much for joining, and we can unmute later and work together through some different exercises. But first, I want to share a video from our donor.
Hello, everyone.
Let me make sure the sound is there. There, perfect.
My name is Kia Rydell, and I'm a program officer with the Conrad N. Hilton Foundation's Safe Water Initiative. I'm honored to join you virtually for this session at World Water Week. I want to thank CARE and the government of Ethiopia for the opportunity to share a few reflections on our partnership and the transformative work underway through the Seize the Moment project. At the Hilton Foundation, our Safe Water Initiative is guided by a vision of professional, sustainable, and safe water services for all, especially for those in rural and hard-to-reach communities across Ethiopia, Ghana, and Uganda. In Ethiopia, some of the priorities of our current strategy are strengthening the WASH system at Wareda regional and national levels, and supporting service providers to deliver reliable water services. We believe that safe water access is foundational to health, dignity, and opportunity, especially for women and girls who bear the brunt of water collection and are often excluded from decision-making. With this, gender equity is imperative, and we support women to not just be beneficiaries, but to be leaders shaping water systems. That's why we're proud to support initiatives like Seize the Moment, which go beyond infrastructure to address the social and institutional dimensions that shape water access. This project aligns deeply with our goals. It strengthens government capacity, promotes inclusive leadership, and generates learning that can inform broader reforms across Ethiopia and beyond. What makes Seize the Moment so compelling is its system-level approach. CARE and the government of Ethiopia are not just implementing a project. They're transforming how water services are governed and delivered. From the start, this initiative has been co-created with government ministries, including the Ministry of Water and Energy and the Ministry of Women and Social Affairs. That partnership has led to some remarkable achievements. The development of a gender equality strategy and toolkit tailored to the water sector, coaching and leadership development for mid-level women in government, encouraging and supporting them to take on leadership roles, and ultimately helping to shift the gender balance and decision-making. Gender equity is being embedded in water sector policies, plans, and budgets. At the regional level, the Amhara Bureau of Water and Energy is adapting various tools to its local context. And at the community level, voices of women are being elevated, ensuring that water services are not only technically sound, but socially responsive. We're also already seeing some great results, including increased representation of women on WASH committees, greater accountability among government staff for gender outcomes, and stronger coordination between ministries that historically operated in silos. What's especially exciting about Seize the Moment is the momentum. Ministries are not only participating, they're leading. Staff are not just being trained, they're becoming champions. And the lessons from this work are already being shared across platforms and regions. This is what systems change looks like. Shifting mindsets, policies, and structures, all in service of more equitable water access. I want to thank CARE, the government of Ethiopia, and all partners involved for your vision, your leadership, and your commitment to equity. At the Hilton Foundation, we're proud to support this work and are inspired by the bold steps you're taking. Let's continue to seize this moment to build a stronger, more inclusive system that truly serves everyone. Enjoy the session, and thank you for all that you do.
Excellent. So that message was from the Hilton Foundation, from Kie at Hilton Foundation. She also couldn't be here today with us, but we're really excited about this program that we've been doing for many years. And it is about WASH, it is about equitable access to water, but it's also just about working with the different ministries to reflect on their own biases, reflect on their own social norms or their own beliefs about traditional roles of men versus women, and prioritize differently. Think about how to make budgets differently, how to engage with the community differently. So this project is actually working at the government level and not so much at the community level like normally CARE does. So I have another video. 1 second, let's see. Oops.
At the Ministry of Water and Energy, a silent transformation is taking place. The change started not with the policy, but with perspective. Through the Social Analysis and Action, or SAA training, staff at Ministry were invited to look inward, to question not only their roles, but the social and cultural norms that shape their daily interactions.
ስልጠና ለመስጠት የታቀደው ከኬር ኢትዮጵያ ጋር ወደ 500
With financial support from the Hilton Foundation, CARE Ethiopia implemented a project that provided social analysis and action, or SAA training, to approximately 500 employees of the Ministry of Water and Energy. The training targeted key staff and focused on promoting gender mainstreaming across the ministry. As a result, the initiative led to notable changes in the work practices of technical personnel at all levels. It also contributed to shifting personal attitudes by challenging the common misconception that gender issues concern only women.
For many ministry employees, the training was eye-opening. The training shed light on gender mainstreaming as a key instrument for promoting equity and equality in the water sector.
Many technical staff had not previously considered the differing needs of men and women in the water sector, nor had they incorporated the specific needs of women at the grassroots level into project planning and execution. The SAA sessions emphasized the importance of social dialogues to identify and address these needs during planning, budgeting, and implementation phases. This led to notable behavioral and attitudinal changes among staff members.
This shift didn't end in the training room. A growing consensus emerged among staff that long-standing, tacitly accepted working habits such as gender stereotyping and the exclusion of women from key decision-making and assignments were hampering the equal participation of women at all levels. The training transformed recruitment, shaped project planning, and embedded gender considerations into every conversation, not as an afterthought, but as a standard practice.
ከዚህ ስልጠና በኋላ ምን የተለየ ነገር ተገኘ ለምለው ሚኒስቴር መስሪያ ቤታችን በቅርቡ የውስጥ ደረጃ እድገት
Following the training, the ministry implemented staff reshuffles and promotions, leading to a notable rise in women nominating themselves for leadership roles, something previously uncommon due to a lack of confidence. As a result, 7 women competed and were promoted to management positions. This positive shift, widely praised within the ministry, reflects how the training empowered women by boosting their self-confidence, helping them recognize their potential, and encouraging them to pursue career advancement.
Equitable and her colleagues have set a new tone, encouraging open dialogue, mentoring staff, and embedding gender perspectives into every layer of the ministry's work. The change even further transcends to line ministries such as Ministry of Women and Social Affairs, Ministry of Planning, and Ministry of Finance.
We also conducted training on gender-responsive budgeting in cooperation with Ministry of Finance. We are now planning to continue offering such training in the future, as it is essential to sustain gender mainstreaming efforts. Furthermore, we have organized consecutive harmonization workshops to foster alignment and cooperation among relevant ministries. These workshops have created synergy during planning and budgeting processes and established strong interministerial cooperation.
Okababashe Heidel affirmed his support for fostering strong collaboration with line ministries, emphasizing that his ministry will make every effort to adopt strategic approaches and ensure the effective implementation of gender mainstreaming at all levels.
The Ministry of Water and Energy is structured around 3 core branches: energy, water resource management, and sanitation. Following recent capacity-building initiatives involving nearly 500 staff members and senior leaders, the ministry has placed a strong emphasis on gender mainstreaming across all levels. A significant milestone in this effort is the appointment of a gender-focal person in every department. Previously, gender-related matters were solely managed by the Gender and Social Affairs Department. Now, each department has its own representative responsible for integrating gender considerations into their work. In parallel, gender perspectives have been incorporated into the nearly finalized National Water and Energy Policy. The ministry's management also plays an active role in ensuring gender integration is reflected in daily operations.
Both witnesses aspire to go even further. To realize a ministry where policies reflect equity in the wash sector and where both women and men are empowered to lead, influence, and thrive. The journey isn't over. But thanks to Care Ethiopia, the SAA training created clearer path and the will to do it, stronger than ever.
Great, thank you so much. Thanks for watching those videos from our donor, and then also a little bit about what we do with the government of Ethiopia. Now I want to take about 15 minutes. I know some of you are on your phones or in transit or maybe walking, or I'm not sure, but I would love it if you could find a piece of paper and a pen. If not, maybe use your notes, or just join us in thinking through these different exercises. But first, I just want to explain, some of you may have heard of social analysis and action previously, maybe not, but it's basically a way that, can you hear me okay? Yeah, I think so. Hold on, somebody needs to be muted, I guess. Yeah, so social analysis in action is usually something that we do with communities. So we get a group of people together, and we don't teach them, we don't tell them what oh, women and girls are collecting water, you shouldn't do that, we should think through another way. We don't tell them what to do or what to change or what social norm is harmful. We don't do that. It's more like a facilitated process where there's certain exercises and certain questions that we present and share with the group. It's usually anywhere from 12 to 25 people, depending on the community and the program. And it doesn't matter the subject. Like here, we're obviously talking about water, sanitation, and hygiene practices and how those are and can be affected by people's, whether or not people are men or women or girls or boys. But it can be any challenge or any issue within a community. And here within the Seize the Moment project, we worked specifically and we're working specifically with different ministries. And it's not just the Ministry of Water and Energy. And it's not just the Ministry of Women and Social Affairs. It's actually, like they said in the video, it's the finance ministry, the planning ministry, all these people who work for these diverse ministries and have diverse roles go through the social analysis and action exercise, and it's multiple sessions over multiple months. And you saw in the video some of the exercises they do with string or with rope or raising their hands or any things like that. So it's a very interactive exercise, and it's a facilitated process where we're really focusing on the answers. Well, that people identify their challenges and then identify whether or not they're harmful, and then identify the way forward, either in their own job or their own role, or also within their community or within their family. And what's really important with social analysis and action is the self-reflection piece. So before starting, and I hope that most NGOs do this in some way, before doing work in the field or engaging with others, there's a lot of self-reflection of the facilitator. They work with others and their team and their manager to reflect on their own biases and their own interpretation of social norms and what traditional roles may or may not be, so that they can be more effective facilitators. So I just want to start, we think about standing in line. Okay, so whether it's to get a ticket to a show or a ticket at the bus station, we stand in line, right? And why do we do that? Because it's a social norm. It's expected of us, right, that we stand in line. But there are times when we don't, or there are times when we cut to the front of the line, the front of the queue, right? And maybe it's because we're running late. Maybe it's because we're not sure if we're in the right queue or the right line. There can be different reasons why we would step out of the queue, out of the line, and try and talk to the person in charge. So thinking like there's certain things, and obviously in different countries, there's different social norms in different contexts, there's different social norms, but thinking about why you behave the way you do or why you expect others to behave a certain way, it's a really interesting exercise to start thinking about that whole process and why we do this or why we don't do that. So to start, many of you have maybe done this exercise already, but if we start with that, one of the exercises in the SAA manual is the 24-hour clock. So we think about a whole entire 24 hours. And then you think about yourself. So maybe we're going to take 2 or 3 minutes to do this. You write down everything you do, like generally in a 24-hour day. And then what we'll do after that is somebody of the opposite sex, whether it's our spouse, whether it's our mother, whether it's our father, what they do in a specific day or in a particular day. And so this exercise is for people to list out, okay, what mothers do in 24 hours, and then maybe what fathers do in 24 hours in your context or culture or family. So I just want to take 2 minutes to have you write down some of those things, and I'm going to do it as well. Okay, I hope some of you participated and are willing to share. I'm happy to start, but just in case, I would love it if somebody wanted to raise their hand and come off mute and share either what they do in 24 hours or what the somebody else does in 24 hours. Any volunteers? Not at the moment. Okay. Okay. So I was thinking about myself and I was thinking about my ex-husband. Okay. So in 24 hours, I wake up, I start the laundry, I take the dogs out, I feed the dogs, I make breakfast for the kids, I probably clean the kitchen. I then, bike to work, and then I bike home, and then I get the kids and make sure they have a snack. And then I shop for the food that we're going to make for dinner. I do the dishes after dinner. I fold the laundry that I started in the morning. And then I probably get the other things ready for the kids' school day, and then I go to bed. Okay, so that's my list. And my ex-husband, he would get up, he would go to work, he would go running, and then he'd actually make dinner, and then he'd go to bed. Okay, so that's just like my personal one, and it's really interesting if you do this in a group and everybody shares. Maybe you start to see certain patterns, you start to see certain things that, okay, this is not just me, this is not just in my family, this is also very common in that family. Because, you know, what can be important in social norms is not that somebody does or doesn't want to help the woman go fetch water. It's often more about what people think others do, or what people think is normal. The same example, going back to the standing in line, most of us do it because that's what's expected of us, standing in the queue. It's what's expected of us. It's not necessarily that we think that it's the best way or the best thing to do. Is there anyone online that wants to share or have a comment or a question or an addition? Sure, Christopher Davies.
Hi, I can add perhaps a slightly different perspective, but this is from Sweden. So yeah, I would say a bit of a flip from my side. I do the bulk of the childcare and the household admin, and anything that needs fixing or anything, all the bills and household items. And the mother is more focused on work and better at cooking, and yeah, it's interesting to have a bit of a flipped side, but yeah, thought I'd add that in.
Thank you. Thanks so much for sharing. Anyone else? Okay, I wanted to do one more quick exercise. The SAA is that we use, one of the tools is called But Why. And maybe in some of your organizations you've used this, but you basically put forth a question, or not a question, a situation, and then you say, but why? And then people sort of answer that, and then you say, but why? And then people answer that question, and it kind of goes to try and find the root of that social norm, or the root of why that is. So if we go to something very common and simple in our work, we say, okay, there are limited women in leadership positions on community wash committees, let's say. Okay, so if that's the statement, there is a limited number of women in leadership positions in wash committees. So if we have that as our problem, as our situation, we say, but why? So people could say, well, because women don't have time. That could be one answer. It could be because women have tried and the men don't listen. That could be another answer. There could be multiple answers where different people have different perspectives and contribute why there are limited women in leadership positions. And depending on what you say, you still go down another level. So if we say, okay, there are limited women in leadership positions because women don't have time. But why do they not have time to participate in the wash committee? And they say, okay, because they have too many chores or house chores or whatever. And then you go down again. Why do they have too many house chores? Because maybe nobody helps them. Why does no one help them? Anyway, so this is like an exercise where you try and really get down to the root for the people in the group, for those participating in the social analysis and action exercise, what to them they identify as the root cause of that situation is. I hope that makes sense. So that it's a really good exercise, not only with community and here with government, but also even within your work group or within your organization. you can go through these exercises to really help understand not only the actual reasons, but really people's perspectives about why things are the way they are. So I'm going to share one more video because the woman who is the program manager for Seize the Moment, she couldn't be here today, so she pre-recorded her presentation. But before showing that, I just want to say that she is not a wash person. She doesn't love, toilets like most of us do. She's not all about hygiene and water rights and all these things like that. She comes from a gender background and an equality background and an inclusion background. And a lot of our programs at CARE, where we've had a lot of success in because I'm the deputy director of the Water Plus team at CARE. So one of the things that I've noticed is programs where we've had the most success in terms of transformation of norms and changing of not only attitudes, but practices among the community, but also among the government and the regional leadership. We've seen the most change when we have somebody who's a non-wash person in our program and leading a certain aspect of our program. And maybe you've all had that same experience, but for me, it's only been the last 6 years or so where we've been able to hire somebody who has zero wash experience and bring them into our program. And they've really, they approach things differently, right? So that's been fantastic. So let me just show one more video.
Welcome to this session on gender integration in Ethiopia's water sector. Today, I will walk you through the challenges we faced, the interventions we introduced, and the impact we achieved in embedding gender equality into water governance and service delivery under our Seize Water project. So the Seize the Moment project runs for 2 years and 6 months, and it's funded by the Hilton Foundation. Its goal is to strengthen the Ministry of Water and Energy and the Amhara Bureau of Water and Energy to deliver better gender outcomes in water governance and services. This work was carried out in partnership with the Ministry of Water and Energy at the federal level and the Bureau of Water and Energy at the regional level. At the start of the project, we conducted a baseline assessment and gender audit at both the Ministry of Water and Energy and the regional Bureau of Water and Energy to understand their starting point. These institutions are mandated to ensure equitable water services, and the gender audit was a systematic assessment of how their policies, practices, and organizational culture either promote or hinder gender equality. It helped us, to identify gaps, biases, and opportunities to make systems more inclusive. We applied several tools, including surveys and questionnaires, focus group discussion, policy and document review, gender analysis framework, interview with leadership and employees, and also sex disaggregated data analysis. The findings from this exercise shaped the strategies we later implemented, which I will share with you today. So at the organizational level, several barriers hindered effective gender integration. So the first one is, the first finding was limited gender parity and technical capacity gaps. Leadership in technical positions are mostly male-dominated, and staff lacked training on gender analysis or mainstreaming tools. In the second one was gender units. The gender unit was under-resourced. Limited staff and budgets meant gender units had minimal influence. in the key performance indicators focused internally. Performance indicators often measured staff welfare, such as only having a daycare center rather than programmatic gender impact. The leadership commitment could be stronger. Without senior backing, gender integration remained low priority. Poor coordination among units, planning, gender, and technical units often worked in silos. And the awareness of gender equality as a right. So we found that many staff still saw gender as an optional add-on, not a fundamental principle. At the program level, challenges included gender not in key performance indicators or plans. Many did not see gender targets. Many programs did not set gender targets at the start of their intervention. Scarce sex disaggregated data. Without it, it was difficult to monitor progress of the progress of designed tailored interventions. There is misunderstood about gender budgeting. Some teams thought it meant creating a separate women's budget instead of integrating gender in all expenditures. And there is unclear mandate. Staff were unsure whose responsibility gender integration was, which reduced accountability. At the community level, no meaningful gender analysis programs often started without understanding local gender rules and constraints. Targets without strategy, setting a 50% women participation goal in WASH committees did not solve practical barriers like meeting times, transport, or social norms. Limited local training community committees such as the WASH committees received little sustained gender training. Translation of gender policies into action. National policies existed, but practical actionable plans were often missing. So, as I mentioned earlier, the Seize the Moment project runs for 2 years and 6 months and is funded by the Hilton Foundation. It aims to strengthen the Ministry of Water Energy and the Bureau of Water Energy in Amhara region to deliver better gender outcomes in water governance and services. So the objectives, the first one is strengthening the Ministry of Water Energy gender strategy, capacity, culture, and systems. The second one is building the Bureau of Water Energy capacity, culture, and policies. The third one is generate and share evidence on equitable water and services. So we utilized three key approaches. The first one is capacity building, the second one is institutional integration, and the third one is policy advocacy. In terms of capacity building, and the key achievements that we have noticed so far include the first one is more than 625 staff trained on social analysis in action and gender transformative approach. Social analysis in action and the gender transformative approach, these are not just awareness tools, they are practical step-by-step ways to help people recognize and change harmful and gender and social norms. So the social analysis in action, it's a participatory method that brings people together, staff, community members, leaders, to openly examine the social and gender norms that shape everyday life. So the tool helped us. The tool helps to identify beliefs and norms through group discussion, storytelling, or role play, analyze how these norms affect people's lives, especially women in marginalized group, and also to plan and take action to change harmful norms and practices. In the training, different tools are utilized, such as norms mapping, charting which norms are helpful and which are harmful, gender roles calendars, looking at who does what work and when, in problem tree analysis, exploring root cause of inequality. For example, in one discussion, participants examined the belief that women cannot repair water pumps, and they explored where the beliefs came from, how it limits women's opportunities, and the effect on communities when pumps break. In the gender transformative approach, the GTA goes beyond simply including women in programs. It aims to actively transform harmful gender norms, power relations in systems that keep inequality in place. It challenges harmful norms that reinforce discrimination and also promote positive norms, for example, shared household work or equal pay for equal work. We've also trained 250 the 250 zonal or Warada staff, which is the lower tier of a government structure or community level structure, trained internally. The Amhara Bureau of Water Energy recognized impact on staff and cascaded training with their own resources. More than 560 zonal personnel trained on gender leveling tool. So the tool, it's a kind of a monitoring and evaluation tool that assesses gender equality at organizational level, piloted. So this project piloted for the first time in the region. Executive leadership buy-in increased, so senior leaders champion gender initiatives, mindset shifts, staff understand why gender integration is essential for quality service delivery. This is one of the exercises utilized under the ACA training or group discussion. Group activities such as act like a man, behave like a lady, allow participants to reflect on stereotypes and their impact. This one is a gender transformative leadership training, which helped the leaders understand the value of equitable decision making and the role of gender in quality service delivery. And collaboration exercises reveal gaps and promote teamwork between departments. Example, the gender unit coordinating with planning and technical units to ensure gender is embedded across all projects. In terms of institutional integration, gender responsive budgeting toolkit ratified. So gender responsive budgeting ensures all expenditures consider gender equity. For example, allocating funds for gender sensitive water tariffs, and 74.6% of the Ministry of Water Energy budget was reported gender responsive. Nearly 3/4 of the Ministry of Water Energy budget now gender responsive, and the ministry was recognized by the Ministry of Finance for based GRB or gender responsive budgeting integration, which was remarkable considering the baseline finding and the commitment from the planning and gender within the overall ministry in terms of considering gender while preparing budgets. Gender checklist adopted. Every project reviewed for gender integration before approval. Gender unit was included in HR panels. 22 women competed this year and 7 promoted, which women's leadership increased through conscious mentorship in selection. Leveling tool implemented regularly tracks progress. This is a tool that ensured accountability across different departments for greater gender outcomes. And a comprehensive gender transformative approach toolkit was developed, offering detailed transformative tools. There was also first ever gender inclusion in bioenergy directorate guideline. At the policy and structural level, gender equality strategy was developed and nationalized. The sector now has a clear nationalized gender equality strategy. This isn't just a policy document, it sets a roadmap for embedding gender consideration in everything they do, from policy framework to local project. It was informed by detailed gender analysis on both the supply side and the demand side. Every new project must now integrate gender analysis as part of feasibility or environmental or social impact studies. The second one is the National Water Energy Policy. The revised policy in the Bioenergy Directory guidelines now include gender. This ensures women's needs and voices are considered. Energy access, water management, and renewable energy initiatives. The third one is gender mainstreaming guideline. Updated guidelines and checklists give technical staff clear tools for integrating gender at all states. From planning, budgeting, and implementation, they are complemented by sector-wide gender-sensitive budgeting developed with it was developed with the support from the Ministry of Finance to resources follow the commitment. Gender-sensitive water tariff guideline. This policy, this is also another achievement. This policy recognizes the tariff structure can disproportionately affect women, especially in low-income households, and it encourages affordability and equitable access. Sorry. It encourages affordability and equitable access, ensuring women are not priced out of safe water. The last one is about the daycare facility. Beyond policy, there was practical change, like building a 3-room daycare facility at the regional level. This directly reduces the domestic care burden on women employees, freeing them to participate more in decision-making, leadership roles, and training opportunities. In terms of partnerships and sustainability, the first one is having a harmonization platform. So we established a coordination space, space that brings together the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Planning and Development, Ministry of Women and Social Affairs, and the Ministry of Water Energy. And this allows sector-wide gender issues to be addressed collectively, not in silos. The second one is the Bureau of Women and Social Affairs and the Bureau of Water Energy collaboration at the regional level. Strong collaboration between regional bureaus of women in social affairs and the Bureau of Water Energy has ensured that gender is not left to one department or one institution, but is integrated across technical and operational work. The third one is joint assessment and follow-ups. These joint activities make sure gender commitments in plans are actually happening on the ground and allow for rapid correction if gaps emerge. And the first one, technical and stream meetings. So we conducted several technical and stream meetings And these recurring meetings keep decision makers and implementers aligned, track progress, and sustain momentum over time. The fifth one is staff reflection. So beyond formal reporting, staff regularly reflect on their own personal growth, family attitudes, and institutional shift, capturing both the tangible and intangible challenges happening in the sector. In terms of the system level impact, so gender, now gender is institutionalized. Gender, gender is institutionalized. Gender is now embedded in sector planning, budgeting, and accountability systems. It is no longer treated as an optional add-on, but as a core principle guiding sector operations. The gender labeling tool, this tool is applied across bureaus to check whether men and women benefit equally from projects and resources. Shift in mindset, the narrative has moved from seeing gender as a quota-filling exercise to recognizing it as a human right and a prerequisite for effective, inclusive service delivery. Longer-term change, these policies and system changes signal a deep cultural and institutional shift, one that will influence how the sector operates for years to come, regardless of project cycles. So as a project, the next steps for us include the first one is capacity building. We are aiming to expand reach. Current gender training has targeted key staff, but to sustain change, we must extend it to the warada level, which is the lower tier of a government structure, to warada level staff, where much of the implementation happens. Institutionalized learning, gender knowledge should not fade when staff leave or project is in. That's why we are embedding regular refresher courses and mentorship programs into the sector's professional development structure. And executive leadership engagement, lasting change depends on leaders actively championing gender integration, not just approving policies. So their voice and example set the tone for the whole sector. Accountability frameworks, we've together with the Ministry of Water Energy and the Bureau of Water Energy as part of the gender strategy development, clear frameworks that link gender objective to key performance indicators were designed or developed, and this will be strengthened throughout the remaining period of the project implementation. This means leaders, managers, and technical staff will have measurable gender-related targets in their job expectations. Performance reviews by trying gender outcomes to staff evaluation will create strong incentive for continuous action, not just one-time complaints. In terms of community engagement, local WASH committees and boards, we will provide these community level governance bodies with gender responsive approach so they can plan, budget, and manage services in ways that meet women's and men's needs equally. Capacity building, local committees will receive training on challenging restrictive norms, increasing women's participation in decision making, and ensuring equal access to benefits. In terms of sustainable partnership and collaboration, we will sustain platforms, we will maintain and deepen existing government non-government platforms, ensuring regular exchange of experiences and resources, joint reviews and learning session. We will schedule joint reviews, which will allow stakeholders to reflect on progress, troubleshoot challenges, and adapt approach. And this regular touch point is strengthen trust between actors, reduce duplication, and make interventions more coherent in terms of M&D and adaptation. Robust M&D systems. We will implement a monitoring and evaluation framework that specifically tracks gender integration using both quantitative and qualitative indicators. Data, evidence-based decision data will inform where to scale interventions, where to adjust, and where more support is needed. And continuous feedback from communities, implementers, and partners will ensure approaches stay relevant and effective.
Thank you so much for joining us. Overall, I love this program, and I think it's one of the key takeaways is that, you know, as we all know, it's not just about quotas. It's not just about having, you know, 5 out of 10 women on WASH committees. It's really looking at what are tools can we help them get there, or what barriers can we help break down in the society so that women can have a stronger voice in the decisions that affect them and their family. What social norms do we need to think about? What budget or resources do we need to put in? Whether, you know, in this program, we sort of started at the top. In other programs, we start at the community level. So I think it's good to think about all the different ways we can look at social norms and have the community themselves, have the people themselves identify what norms may be harmful, what norms may be affecting equitable access. But thank you so much for joining. And in the chat, I put Ms. Ratch's email. She would be the best person to follow up with if you have a question about a specific tool or toolkit or how it's integrated, or maybe if you want to just see how it works, the way we walked through some of the SAA exercises. So thank you so much for joining.